Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes, he did.
Y'all, a bunch of him did what we gonna talk about today. But before we get into that, thank y'all. Welcome to another episode of Oh No Girl Yes, the podcast where we literally don't bash men. I wanted to point that out today. I know if you guys are listeners, we actually have quite a few male listeners. So thank you to our fellows that listen in. And you know it's not a male bashing podcast, but I'm offering that because a lot of times when I say I have a podcast about relationships, I've had men listen to the podcast and then say, well, what do you think the men that you talk about feel? And I have never given it a thought or a care. But we don't offer names here. We don't, try to identify any man. We're not trying to keep that man from finding another woman to waste her time. But we just talk about our experiences, okay? But it's never in the sense of male bashing, because we ultimately would like to find a man to settle down with. So obviously we love men. But anyway, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. You can also become a member of our little community, a little private community on Patreon, where we do go a little bit more into detail about some of the things we share here. But the reason why I gave all of that disclaimer at the beginning is because today we are talking about what we will loosely refer to at the beginning as this red pill society. Are you familiar with what that is?
Vaguely. I just Googled it.
It's loosely based on the concept from the Matrix, where you can take the blue pill or the red pill. Well, there is a social media grouping, and they refer themselves as red pill men. And in this alternate universe that they have formed this community in, women run the world and men are not allowed to complain. So this is their safe space to complain about women, to think about all the ways that women are the worst people on the planet and how they are victims of us all. Now, the reason why we are aware of it, obviously we wouldn't be in that group. We don't even know about the group, but because so many of the men that are subscribing to these theories and these this ideology have now taken it into mainstream social media and made us aware that there's a large group of men, and more seems coming every day, that are taking on this ideology.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen the ideology. I didn't know the source until we were talking about it, but it makes perfect sense after Googling and seeing, it's basically a place where men are the victims, are the sole victims in the woes of society. And it's supposed to be a space for them, But like you said, when they bring it over to mainstream media, then I have a problem with it.
Right. And that's the problem that is seeming to now really be picking up steam. I personally hate to see it. And it's like this thing now where single men, come on to Beyonce's internet to bash and degrade women, mostly single women. And it's interesting because these men are single as well. And I would think if you have a platform and you have a voice, maybe you would be trying to form connections or let us see how wonderful and loving and supportive as a partner you could be. So we possibly would want to be with you. But it seems like the opposite is happening. It's like men are really okay with letting us know that they hate women.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Don't get mad. Okay. Do you think that they are just trying in a horrible way to change the narrative of what men are and just don't know how to do it right, obviously, because they're going about it the wrong way, I think. But, we've heard men are dogs. You hear that. We grew up hearing that. Men are dogs and, men ain't ish and blah, 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 blah. And that was a narrative from women to men. So you think they just, in their own roundabout way, kind of trying to give us a taste of our own medicine and say, I don't know. Where do you stand? Do you think that that's part of it? Like, is that a reason why they're getting on Beyonce's internet and making a fool out of themselves?
Let me tell you what my research has taught me. My clinical research. No, not what you just said. I don't think it's that. This is what I think it is. If you think about how generationally the world has changed for each generation, right? Whether it's technology, whether it's politics, whether it's consumer goods, whether it's media, we can see the shifts, right? So you think back in your grandparents' days, what was considered scandalous, is a Thursday for us. You look back in your parents' days, things that they weren't allowed to do, 8-year-olds are doing it, so we see the shift from each generation. In my clinical research and experience, a lot of men are the products of single mothers. And for whatever reason, that their mother was a single mother, whether she was a teen mom, whether she was divorced, because divorce has become so much more acceptable, more so than when our grandparents and even parents were married. Okay. So a lot of them are children of divorce or children of a teenage mom, or for whatever reason, they were primarily raised by their mother. What happens a lot of times, not all times, but a lot of times when a mother is providing for children by herself, she is having to really take advantage of a village. And that might be a grandparent. It might be a cousin, a sister, an uncle. Well, young people in those moments of growing up don't have an understanding of the world and why they are not with their mother, or why they are not with their parent. And so for me, as a child of divorce, I didn't have an understanding of why I wasn't with my father growing up. As an adult, I can say, well, parents got divorced and whatever happened between their relationship and whatever efforts he made to be a father that just weren't there, that's why. I have that understanding clearly now, but as a kid, you don't know that information, right? So I think there's a lot of young men who felt neglected by their mothers. I have spoken to several men who felt like their mothers did not protect them, did not care for them the way they would have hoped, and they hold resentment. A lot of times, men who had that relationship with their mother, they don't have these issues. They don't have this like deep-seated hatred towards women because they have that connection with their mother. I think men who miss that connection for whatever reason with their mother are taking it out on women that they do not trust because they feel like they could not trust their first woman. I probably have the same issue with men because I could not trust the first man. And I think that is prevalent in our generation. I think my age range or your age range, where men don't trust women. Men have been hurt by women. And for whatever reason, men have not had the opportunity to be as emotionally resilient as women have had to figure out how to be. One, because we were allowed to cry. We were allowed to, break up with our friends. We were allowed to have all these emotional outbursts as young people and learn how to regulate ourselves, self-regulate, self-soothe, make up, apologize, understand. And a lot of times young men don't get those opportunities because you're a boy, go outside and play. You ain't got no feelings. Ain't nothing to hurt your feelings. Ain't nothing to talk about. Stop crying. And so they never get a chance to figure out how to process emotions. So now you have all these adults with resentments and unprocessed emotions that are now looking for connection and intimacy, but also feel like those are the worst things a man could do. And if a man will articulate those things or look for those things, that man is then called a simp. This is just strictly based on my research.
So then you have this red pill society that kind of flows into, the grains of all these men who are walking around trying to figure out what's wrong. It's almost like when, if you have an illness or you have like a thought that you think you're the only one that has this. And then when you hear somebody who has that same thought, it empowers you then to be loud and proud about your thought as well. And
it's the same thing. It's like a gang. Right. A gang. When you look at the violence in gangs and all of the reasons why someone who's not in a gang would be like, why would you be in a gang? That's community. We grew up together. We in this together. You have my back in a way that I never felt nobody had my, and so unfortunately it tends to end violently and in negative, bad ways. But what they're really looking for is community. So these men that have decided that they've been hurt by some woman in their lifetime, might have been their mother, it might have been their ex-wife, it might have been their first love. They now find solace in community, just like our community finds solace with us and knowing, hey, I'm not the only one that didn't have relationships work out. I'm not the only one that's been trying and failing. So there's community there, right? The unfortunate part of it is that then it comes out as vitriol and hatred and degrading of women that you've never met, women that you may never meet. Women as a whole, women as a general. And so that's why I said we would never spend our time devoted to bashing men that we ultimately want to have connection with. We talk through our experiences we've had with men. We don't overinflate the experience. We don't make up experiences. We just say, hey, that didn't work out. We've had plenty of episodes of like, girl, yes, this is great. I'm happy. And by the next week, it didn't work out. And we live to try again.
But we're talking about personal experiences. We don't get on here and just talk about what we don't know what we've never gone through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think what for me, I get very frustrated by it because I can see that it's coming from a place of hurt. It's coming from a place of disappointment. It's coming from a place of neglect. It's coming from a place of abandonment. So I recognize the hurt in these men that are saying these horrible, horrible things because they are speaking from their pain that they don't know how to formulate into saying, I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. We can say that. We know those words. We can say, I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. This hurt my feelings. I cried. And so the empath of me has compassion for all of these losers, okay, on the internet. Now,
you call them losers.
Yeah. But I have compassion for them. So recently, I've had some interactions with some of these men online, and in their disdain for me, and I've been a stranger to these men that I'm referring to, they have tried to weaponize animals towards me. Go live by yourself with your cat. And if you guys know me, I don't have a cat, but I mean, I guess that was supposed to be sad. Somebody else said, oh, kiss your dogs for me. Literally, like I'm not even sure, right? And so it's this thing where, yes, these are losers because you are hurt, you are disappointed, you are neglected, but now you're coming at a stranger on the internet trying to make her feel what you feel. And I never will, because I know how to articulate and work through my past traumas and my current traumas. My current traumas are you brothers. Y'all are my current traumas. Okay. So I would never then try to hurt every man in the world because some men hurt me. Yeah. I just wouldn't do that.
I think that's the biggest problem I have with this thought, because when I say, oh, I've dealt with this, like I said, we talked about the personal experience thing. They're coming from and I guess you mentioned it on your live the other day, your Facebook live. You said, these men are talking about their experiences. Mm-hmm. These are true experiences to them. Right. But to go online and to bash someone else that you've never interacted with,
it's weird.
Okay, now you got to check yourself. Like,
right. And that's why they're losers, right? Because you don't know that whatever pain and hurt you're feeling, you don't have to then try to go off on me. We have literally never met in the entire world of life. Yeah.
And I do actually have a problem. We have both presented ourselves as single women looking for love and not being successful in it. This has been the podcast for us. We don't look at men and say, that's why you're single. If you listen to a lot of our episodes, we are talking about us and what we went through, what we had to deal with, how we had to grow, what we learned from these situations, blah, blah, blah. I don't get on the internet and say, okay, men, this is why you're single, and I'm sitting here single.
Make it make sense. Because men who have brides and partners ain't on the internet talking about single women. And so it's always mind-blowing that these single men who do not have partners.
Tell me why you single. Like, we used to do that on first date all the time. All the time. Those 2 episodes we had a first date. That was one of our first questions, and we kept it going because it's just like, let me know why you think you are single.
And we always say why you think you are single. That may or may not be the truth. But all of us have a thought process of why we think we are single, right?
And the first words out of your mouth shouldn't be because these women ain't doing that. No, let's talk about us first. Let's us first.
So if I had to say, why am I single? I'm single today because I realize I lower my vibration for the past interactions I've had, and I don't enjoy myself as me as much in those situations. So I want to spend some time raising my vibration and maintaining it, and knowing that I don't have to lower it for an actual genuine connection that I should be in. So that's for me to figure out. That's going to be any man I'm going to lower my vibration to try to be more accessible, to try to be more available, to try to be more digestible. And that's something I have done historically, and it has never made me feel good. Not even saying that it's never made the relationship work. I didn't feel good. And so by default, it ain't going to be a good situation. But I would never say, well, no, I would also say, I'm single because men are trash. Let's be clear. But no, when I say men are trash, I want to make a caveat to that. There's a lot of really great men in this world. Most of those men are not available. They've already found their partner, their bride. So I want to be clear that no, all men are not trash. it's just a great majority of men who have some of the qualities or personalities that actually have already found their bride, already found their partner. Now, as far as the men that are still out here, you know, just like I'm out here, I wouldn't talk negatively about a single man because I'm single. So if I say, well, something wrong with him, I'm saying the same thing about myself. But I'm also saying, but there is something to why we have not partnered. And a lot of the times it is an inward journey. And I think too many men are not taking that inward journey and are coming out and lashing out at the women. And it's like, but there is something about you that is causing results that are not desired. Same thing with us. There's something about us, whether it's who we're selecting to date, whether it's the energy we put into it, it's all this stuff that we can, on this podcast, we say, okay, you know what, we set goals for ourselves. Even with situations, we try to say we didn't waste our time. We try to figure out, how can I grow from this? What did I learn from this? How can I take what I took from that situation and make it a positive for a future situation? And I just don't see that responsibility coming up with these men that are coming out hating women, and men aren't intimidated by independent women. They're turned off by your masculine energy. And, you know, for me, I know a lot of men try to tell women what a woman is, and I don't think it's their place, just like I don't think it's my place to tell a man what a man is, but I will suggest that it's a limited idea, because with me, with breast and a vagina can be accused of being a man, I feel like we need to go back to health class. Yeah. And also how I choose to identify. And then also, just because I might have money in the bank and a mortgage in my name does not make me a man. And so they tend to have a smaller view of what a man is. They associate it with money or power or success or running companies. And when they see women doing that, then they're like, oh, well, she's a man. She don't need a man. And it's like, the opposite of that.
It's horrible to see, because these are men that are in our generation that grew up with us, you know, that have seen the switch in society. These aren't 80-plus-year-old men who knew a different life. You've seen that, you know, most college campuses are full of women, black and white. You know that, you know, we're making strides and becoming CEOs of companies and stuff and doing things that we weren't doing 50 plus years ago. So I feel like they're having a hard time adjusting, which seems weird, because you grew up with these women, your sisters, your cousins, your friends, who are doing all these things. So why are you having a hard time adjusting? Is it because
I think it's a lack of worthiness. I feel like if you don't need me to take care of you, and also I think some men have an idea that is skewed on what it takes to take care of a woman. You know, I think a lot of us are not where we want to be financially. Most of us are in the grind because we're like, hey, I need to get this paper, 1, to live, but 2, to stack, 3, to live how I want to live, right? I think a lot of times men might be able to live how they want to live, but they're thinking of, but then can I take on another person? And then can I take on some little people? And then that's an overwhelming thought. And so by the time they tell you, I'm busy, I'm working on this, in their mind, they're like, I'm not ready to take care of all the things that I associate with being a man. And so the woman is saying, but hey, I got a piece of the pie too. I can come over here and we can put it together. And so it's not just on you to do X, Y, Z. That pressure is not, we doing this together. I think that's what's breaking us up here. Yeah,
in my past experience, and I'm only talking about personal experience, the guys that I've dealt with and dated in the past, I don't think that was the message they were trying to send, but I don't believe that message. I believe that message was, I don't want to be with you.
Yeah.
Well, or I don't want to be with anybody, but I definitely don't want to be with you. You know what I mean? I don't want that responsibility.
100%. Men see a relationship more as a responsibility, and women, we see it more as a bonus to our responsibilities.
Correct.
And I think coming into it from that space, we already just on different pages. Mm-hmm. So by the time a man that you're interested in or has shown some interest to you starts telling you about how busy he is, immediately you're like, I'm busy too. So, but I want to make time and I want to spend time and I enjoy being with you. And men tend to just default to the I'm busy. And again, they won't communicate the truth of I'm busy trying to land this deal so I would feel more confident or comfortable in dating or building a family. You know, all these things that might be going through their minds is not for us to decipher. We can only talk about what we experience, which is I'm too busy for you, getting mushed in the face and sitting on the curb like, well, dang. I'm busy too. But I want to get to know you. I want to spend some time. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like whatever this red pill society, I struggle even saying this person's name on my podcast, but the KS society, that man, they have found community in their pain, and the way they are expressing it in mainstream polite society is to degrade and denigrate the women that they claim have hurt them, when literally we have never met any of these dudes. We don't even know them. And we don't think all women are perfect. We don't think all women are honest. We don't think all women are loyal. There's a range of trash on both sides. So that's clear. But I'm saying, for as many times that I have been called trash, I literally ain't never done nothing to these clowns. And I even said in my Facebook Live, any of the men that I've ever dated, and you've known of or have met some, I can't think of one that would get online and would say something negative about me.
Correct. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't work out, we broke up or whatever, but I could not imagine anyone I've ever dated getting online saying something negative about me. So the fact that men that I've never met feel so comfortable doing it, it really blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, we never even dated. Get somebody I dated to say something negative about me, and I would say, maybe. That was his experience. Hey, maybe. But I literally don't know you, and you screaming at me and blocking me and hanging up on me on the internet. So fellas, if you are listening to this, this is the other part of that, and you don't subscribe to those theories, and you think it's horrible, and you see how bad it is. I think if you listen to our podcast, you're a dude that has some kind of emotional bandwidth and intelligence about yourself in that space. Bring a brother with you. You know what I'm saying? Talk to him about maybe getting some therapy, as we all, support for everybody. A lot of times when somebody says you need to get therapy, they take it as a dig or an insult. It's like, no, it's something that you need to talk through so that you can have a better version of life for yourself. Right. Just talk through some stuff so you can see what's the root of why you feel this, and realize you don't have to project it onto every situation. Your mom may not have been there for you, but you don't have to project that onto every woman.
I think it's the onus is on men, other men in society who have figured some things out. We're all trying to figure everything out and be more or better, people in general. But if you've gotten past that point, if you've been one who's dealt with abandonment issues from whether your mom or your family or something like that, and you found a way out, then bring up another brother up, because I don't think it's not gonna come from us, because right now we're barking at each other and we're not hearing each other. And so I feel like men who have figured it out can help bring other men along the way, instead of saying, well, I can't say nothing about that guy, and that's, I guess that's a man trait anyway. You just stay in your own lane and stay in your own business, where women will be like, girl, listen.
Well, no, that ain't true, because that's why they're on the internet talking about single women business. So
but I'm talking about the men. I ain't talking about the red.
Each one teach one. I feel like we get a chance to share with each other, and we usually have different opinions and views, but we've also learned and had moments in the podcast like, oh, wait a minute, girl, you said something. Okay, and I feel like a lot of times men, especially married men or men in partnership or men who have worked on themselves and have found a way to form connections, kind of leave the rest of them to the wolves. Like, yeah, well, that's my boy, but nah, yeah, he wild. Yeah, no, that's how he is. And I think, no, you are your brother's keeper. It's like, I just hear too many men letting these clowns be the loudest one in the room.
And I think because they are who they are, and because they believe what they believe now, these red pill men, they're not going to hear from us. What we say does not matter at all. I don't care how sincere we come, how genuine we are about it, how nice we are about it. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. And it's going to take other men in our society to kind of shut down these things. We have a mutual friend that's been doing that a lot. It will be a comedy online, but it's going to take those type things.
Yeah. And I have to understand and believe what you just said, because I know you have said to me, girl, why do you take your time, energy, and talent to engage? And I know it's a waste of time. I know it's not the best use of my gifts.
You were just hoping that somebody might hear something.
Maybe somebody. Just one. If I could just get one guy to say, I never thought about it that way. Or maybe they have seen me or respected me for other reasons, that they would receive it from me in love, and not as someone they've dated, or not someone that has a horse in that fight, But I am going to be a better steward of my time and energy, but I can't make no promises, because when they come for me, I come right back. And that's a character flaw of mine, is I enjoy destroying idiots. But that is not a good use of my time. The other thing I was going to say about the effect that I've seen on mothers on sons that I've tried to date, it usually manifests itself also at this age as you might perceive this man as a mama's boy. Because he dotes on his mom, or, you know, and if you don't love your mom, and some, you know, I'm already gonna have a challenge with you. But I've realized in my experiences, a lot of those men are still trying to get validation from their mom. And so it's not really so much that they dote on their mom and they have that relationship. They're still trying to prove to their mom that they're worthy. Mom, you know, mommy, I make good money now, and I bought this for my mom, and I can do this for my mom. But there's still a disconnect between them and their mom, and a disconnect between them and the woman they're trying to date. And it's still interesting, you know, that we all are some of our parts. And so whatever your relationship is with your mother and your father, man, woman, or child, it affects how you move in the world. And if you don't acknowledge it and don't get to the root of why you are the way you are, good, bad, and otherwise, you are bound to keep repeating cycles and trends and things that are not going to serve you well.
Yeah.
So for all the men that talk about a woman with daddy issues, they have never addressed their mommy issues. And that's unfortunate. You know, and all we can do is work on ourselves. And I think the goal is to make connection. That's always my goal. That's the goal of this podcast, is to, one, give power to pain, be able to laugh about all the things that have not worked out. But also we talk about being hopeful and ready for the future of whatever that looks like for us at any given time. And if you've been following us for the 3 seasons prior to this one, you know, it looks different every year, every season. It looks a little bit different, and we get excited and hopeful, and then we get disappointed and discouraged and annoyed and frustrated, and then we get hopeful and excited, and we appreciate you guys going on that ride with us. But we also encourage you, to look inward, look at your work. What are you contributing to your situation, good, bad, and otherwise? You know, and that's all you can control. We can't script the other person's lines. We can't make them be the people we wish they could be, but we can keep showing up authentically and genuinely. And I think these men are genuinely hurt. I think they are authentically mad at women. I think those are true statements. But I think if they don't get to the root of why and look at healing, then we're just going to keep barking at each other on Beyonce's internet. And that's unfortunate.
It is.
And I would suggest they just stay in their community groups and don't let that thing bleed out into the street where we can see it. Because we're not going to have any compassion for you.
It feels very, I hate this word, but it feels very toxic. It feels very dangerous. It's a dangerous train of thought.
It is.
And almost very unhealthy. I don't know. I just, you know, it's scary to me. And it's like, come on, people, let's get it together. It's gross. Let's not be this group of people. Let's not be that.
It's gross. And you know what? I don't see it as much. I have seen women bash and dog men out online, but it's usually very specific to their baby daddy.
Yeah. Well, and then men may see that as, you know, but and so I can't say I do see it. I don't know if I see it as much, but it's like when somebody's not talking about you, sometimes you don't equate that. You know what I mean? So a hit dog gonna holler every time. Right. So if it has nothing to do with you probably wouldn't, you know.
Right. When I see anything, if I could be scrolling, if I see the word independent women, I'm like, what? And what? And what? And what? You know, when WAP came out, I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, but we have to really know what masculine energy is. Masculine energy is not being the head of a CEO or being a successful businesswoman or making your own money or paying your own bills or, you know, buying your own house, buying your own car. That's not masculine energy. That's called survival. Okay.
And you know what's so funny? They will talk about you being in your masculine energy. And when you say, listen, just because I bought my car, whatever, that's what you're supposed to do. You're an adult. Why are you saying? Well, because you just said I was a man for doing that. But now when I say, okay, I did those things, that doesn't make me a man. You say, well, why are you saying you did those things? That's what you should do. You should take care of yourself. But again, child, we have better things to do than to engage. But we want y'all to know, if you are a man listening to this podcast today, reach out, help a brother heal. Okay. Send them to us. Tell them to listen to our podcast and say they're not bashing men, but maybe you can get some insight into women and what are some of the challenges they're faced with men, and you can be the light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's what I don't get is like, well, if you see all these men out here trashing women, why not be the beacon of light? Because now is that many more of us trying to get to you. And just know that the whole point is for us to catch feelings. The whole point is for us to get attached. The whole point is for us to build together. The point is not to see who can say the worst thing to each other. And I told him and I told her and I blocked him and I blocked. Y'all, come on. We're going to be dead soon. I keep being threatened with a good time of dying by myself. That's my preference. But I also like the stories of the people that was together for 75 years and died within 3 hours of each other. That's beautiful too. So find your joy. Let it be what you want, what you need. Don't let it be what somebody told you should want. Don't just buy into the programming, but just be open and available to whatever your joy looks like for you. And it will probably be different as you continue to live and thrive in life. It'll be different for you. Right now, I'm just looking for something good to eat, something good to drink, a nice new song to listen to. Go for a walk. That's a good day to me right now. Somebody else, it's something else. Ain't nobody wrong for either one. And I'm gonna get a cat. Because if another man accuses me of having one and I don't have one yet, I feel like I must be missing out on this cat. I don't know how the dogs would take it, but anyway. Fellas, hug a brother, bring him over. We'll take him. If you haven't heard of the red pill and you Google it like we just did before this episode, it's a little disappointing when you read some of the thoughts that they share. We didn't really want to go into too much detail because it's traumatic and trauma.
It's very traumatic.
Yeah, that's not what this is for. So even when we don't discuss KS, that's all traumatizing. And so we don't want to give air and breath or platform to any of that. So feel free to live with that as you will. All right, girl. I feel better. Okay, so I use this time and energy for the podcast and I will not engage with any clown online. Okay, y'all got it on tape. Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes, he did.